Tuesday night, and that familiar slap of the bass means it's time for the Dog Pound with Canine Boxing, presented by the Peerless Corner. Well, we have some great guests in the store once again tonight. We're going to have Mr. Dibella from Dibella Entertainment. We're going to let him and Canine do a little talking before I actually get in on the show, and then we're going to have Mr. Young, excuse me, Quinton is going to be on the show. Quinton is actually the young man that just fought Chad Dawson. You might want to look it up on YouTube, Mr. Quinton Rankin. And then we're going to close out the show, of course, with Ishe Smith. Ishe, although he has been a former, super middleweight champion, he's now going to try his hand at the bare knuckle game. So he's going to make his debut. I believe it's next month. I think it's the second Tuesday of next month. But anyway, she'll tell us about that. So right now, K9 is in the building. What's up, K9?
What's up, though, James? How you doing?
I'm doing a little bit better. You got to get close to that phone so the people can hear you.
You can hear me good today?
No, we can't hear you. You got to get a little closer to the phone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. There you go. That's the K9 we all know. I don't know nothing about. Sound like you got on. Sound like you got on tight jeans when you talk back there. I don't know what's going on.
Hey, you know the bark ain't as big as the bite. The bite is bigger.
Uh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey man, but I'm grabbing Lou on the phone. I know you and Lou Dibella go back quite a ways, man.
Man, hey, that's my guy. Yeah, Lou Dibella, he one of the best in the business, if not the best.
806-458 is not available.
Uh-oh.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye.
He one of them guys like you. You gotta figure out which phone he on this week. But I'm gonna call you from my line. So why don't you keep everyone hold down the audience for a minute, and I'll be back with Lou.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so Detroit versus everybody. I know y'all know that, right? So we just went and fought Detroit versus New York. Came back with all belts. Belts on deck. Tony Harrison and his team, Crawwell and their team, K9 Boxing and his team, Lil K9. All of us won belts. So shout out to Super Bad Fitness, shout out to Crowell, and shout out to Lil K9. Dogs are us. So we took care of business though, man. Like I say, we all got belts. It was actually the Puerto Rican festival, which was this Sunday. But unfortunately, in taking my son to the fights and going out there and winning a belt, we were not here to actually to witness Emmanuel Stewart Street being unveiled on Jefferson. So shout out to Emmanuel Stewart Street. Rest in peace to Emmanuel Stewart. He definitely was worthy of the cause, and it's a blessing. He did so much for the city of Detroit. So to have his street on Jefferson, it's a big thing. You know what I mean? And I'm happy for him. I'm happy for his family, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, just think he was bringing world champions just like the auto industry was rolling them cars out. So I mean, he was to me he was as big as Cadillac, GM, Chrysler, Motown with Diana Ross and Michael Jackson and Spinner, Stevie Wonder. I mean, it was big. So he was as big to me and what he had did for boxing. Because you got to remember, he has more world champions than any other trainer in the history of boxing. I mean, and he was a master. If you lost your title, he could help you get it back in no time. All you gotta do is go ask Lennox Lewis. All you gotta do is go ask Klitschko. All you gotta do is go ask Jermaine Taylor. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on and on. From Michael Moore, I mean, Just think about it, man. I mean, the best of the best. Some of everybody's come through crunks from Floyd Mayweather to Layla Ali. I mean, the list goes on and on. But boxing is in a good place right now. We got some great fights that's coming up. I can't wait. I really can't wait for the rematch, if there's going to be a rematch between Anthony Joshua and Ruiz, the new champion. And so it's a whole lot of talk that, the fight's going to be in Saudi Arabia. But the champ, the current champ, Andy Ruiz, he wants the fight to be in America. Eddie Hearn saying no, it's a done deal. It's signed, sealed, and delivered. Andy Ruiz is saying no, it isn't. So it's a lot going on. And then we have Tevin Farmer, who wants to fight. He wants to fight Tank Davis. Tank Davis definitely wants to fight Tevin Farmer. So, that's something to look out for. We got Julian Williams, who's going to defend his belt against Jared Hurd. So J-Rock says, hey, if you don't take this drug test, it ain't going to be no fight. I'm not fighting nobody unless they take drug tests. Real stand-up guy. Can't wait for that fight to take place. Then we have Tony Superbad Harris. He's getting ready to take on Charlo. Can't wait for that fight to take place. Then we have Errol Spence versus Showtime Sean Porter. And on the undercard, which could be the fight of the night, is Michigan's own Anthony Durrell defends his belt against Benavidez. And Benavidez is talking real slick, saying what he going to do. So I can't wait to see that fight. There's just a lot of stuff going on in boxing. Of course, there's always something going behind closed doors that we don't even know about. Another big fight I can't wait to, though, is the fight between Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz. That's going to be a great fight. And you could talk about he's older now and that don't mean nothing. All you got to do is ask Manny Pacquiao. And in the first fight between Deontay Wilder and Ortiz, it was a banger. It was banging, you know what I mean? And I think Ortiz may have gave Deontay Wilder his toughest fight. Then again, you got Tyson Fury, who gave him a tough fight too. But, I mean, these boys is banging. So I take my hat off to Deontay Wilder for even taking such a hard fight like that. And with the rematch between him and Tyson Fury already supposed to be signed, sealed, and delivered, this is a tough fight going into that fight. And I would wonder, like, what would make him take a fight like that? Of course, because of the heart. But to fight against a southpaw, knowing you're going to fight against a right-hander in your next fight, But, hey, with that right hand that he throws, it doesn't matter. He can hit anybody at any time from any distance. At 6'7", he could have been a basketball player, but thank God he chose to be a boxer. So any other news? I'm trying to figure out and think about all the other kind of news we got. So Olympics is coming up real soon. So I'm on the fence on whether I want little K9 to fight elite or fight youth. So if you fight elite, then you got a chance to win or go to the Olympics if you fight elite. You can't go to the Olympics if you fight youth or junior. So you have to be an elite fighter. And with him being 18 years old, I want him to have his full grown man strength. He started boxing a little late. Starting at 13 years old is kind of late when you got fighters starting at boxing at 5 or 6 years old. And then so he has about 30 amateur fights. But then the guys he might end up fighting might have 200-some amateur fights. So we talking about from an 18-year-old to a 25, 26, 27-year-old. And from 30 fights to a guy with 200 fights. So, I'm on the fence. I don't want to rush him into nothing until he's ready. Because it's more than money to me. It's more than money to me, for sure. And we gonna get that. We gonna get that bag though, for sure. So I'm wondering what James is doing. Is he's taking a doo-doo break right now? I don't know.
Well, no, actually, I didn't get in touch with Lou. Lou is still trying to work out some legal things that he has going on. So
I absolutely.
You know how Lou is.
Yeah.
Always think just.
Oh, ain't nothing wrong with that. You talking about with him? You talking about with him and his fighter, right? With that WBSS tournament.
Well, I mean, it's not just the WBSS. I mean, there's some other issues. The Darvinchenko thing.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
The Bella Entertainment. Lou is never a guy to be quiet behind the lines. If you got some, if there's some shady stuff going on, Lou is, hey, yo, what's up?
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think he got a baseball team or something too. He owns some kind of team too. I don't know if it's soccer or baseball, but yeah, he doing a lot of stuff outside boxing too.
Yeah. Well, the Bella Entertainment is always good. But they say that this fight that Regis is they're going to put the money into Regis's account, which is what I think it was about, the escrow money.
Yeah, programs.
I don't know about you guys' financials, but
I
guess the money is supposed to be put up before the fight in escrow, and the WSS hadn't put the money in the proper places, but whatever. But as of now, they say the fight is back on, but what do you think about this fight? This WBSS series. I mean, there are a lot more things going around for young fighters than there were when you were. I mean, you had the Contender.
Now
they've got the Contender, and then they've got the social media. They got
absolutely.
Instagram.
That's right.
I mean,
hey.
You see guys shadow boxing all day on.
Absolutely.
The different Facebooks.
Right. You right.
But
I have to. You know what? Hey James, I have to credit Sylvester Stallone for coming out with the Rocky movie, right? Then after he came out with the Rocky movie, he produced The Contender, and The Contender was like it reminds you of the Rocky movie, except it was real. It told the stories of the fighters, so it brought a lot of fans to boxing. The show was so big that we had millions and millions of views per week. So that's at the time when it wasn't Facebook, because before Facebook came out, it was forgot what that's called. MySpace. There you go, MySpace. So MySpace was banging. You know what I mean? I had about 1 million followers and everything. So that was in that era. But at the same time, with the Contender, actually people piggybacked off that. That's when 24/7 came out. Wasn't no 24/7. Wasn't no Super 6 until the Contender came out. Then you start having these tournaments where ESPN had a tournament. Excuse me. They saw how successful the Contender was, that they came out with all these different tournaments. So you got to credit Sylvester Stallone, Rocky, and coming out with that idea. And speaking of the Contender, that's why it's good to have one of my comrades, Ishe Smith, on the show tonight. He could tell you about what the Contender did for his life, and how it helped him out to get prepared for winning a world championship and all that kind of stuff. And I take my hat out to the Contender, man. And we had another season that was recently this year, but back to the WBSS, man. You can't play with people's money. From what I've been reading, Regis didn't get all his money yet, so he was saying that he was gonna get out the tournament, man, and they was threatening to sue. So it was a lot of stuff in the game, but we don't need that in boxing. You know what I mean? Yes, sir.
We do have the great Mr. Lou Dibella on the line.
Oh, you heard?
I'm going to let YouTube champion actually start out the conversation.
Hey, how you doing, Lou?
Gentlemen.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
How you doing, K9? Good to talk to you guys.
Man, good to talk to you, brother. Good to talk to you.
I'm well, brother. I'm well.
You well? Okay. Yeah, man, I know you're a busy man, so I thought we were going to be able to catch you tonight. So I'm happy that you know what I'm saying, you spent time with us tonight.
No, it's my pleasure. I've been telling you, I've been meaning to, but I've been underwater between all these crazy situations I've been in the middle of. But at least now everything seems to be resolving and heading in the right direction. So
yes, I'm happy.
Look, by the way, Regis never wanted to pull out of any tournament, and but here's the issue: a guy's got to fight. You have to know the money's there. You have to be comfortable that you're going to get paid. And the tournament's had a lot of issues, and I'm happy to say they appear to be at least now willing to resolve stuff. So I think we're heading toward a situation where the issue is going to get resolved, and hopefully Regis will be fighting Josh Taylor. We'll know by the end of the week. But I think it's heading, in the right direction. And we just had some concerns that we had to get worked out, and we've been working them out. We've been in the process of working them out. I mean, we had to file. We filed a lawsuit, but that's not something we wanted. He never wanted to pull out of the tournament. We never wanted, to cancel the fight. But luckily, people have been communicating since we filed the lawsuit, and it looks like we're heading to a situation where things should be worked out. I'm crossing my fingers, and we should know more in the last couple of days. And then finally today, it looks like we worked out the Triple G and Sergey Derevyanchenko fight, and it looks like that's going to happen October 5th at Madison Square Garden. There's supposed to be a press conference on Thursday.
Oh, that's wonderful. So there you have it on the Dawg Pound. You get it from the Dawg Pound. Lou Dibella himself in person. That's what I'm talking about. That's good stuff, man. Good information. I don't got to go to Boxing Scene to get it. I got it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, well, I'm an old horse, but I guess you got it from the horse's mouth.
Right.
So what's up with you, Kane? I haven't talked to you in a while, bro. Everything good?
Yeah.
How long you been doing this podcast?
Man, I've been doing this podcast with my partner, James. Actually, James has been doing a podcast, for a few years now, some years. And I just got aboard with it. I told him, I said, man, we need to go ahead and, it was the Pugilist Corner. I said, let's go ahead and change it to the Dawg Pound. I remember being current champion, and I would always get on the show, and I said, man, you're going to blow this mug up. And it caught fire. It caught fire, and since I've been on it, it's going to caught more fire.
Well, I'm good to be on with you guys, and I'm glad you're doing this. You're a true veteran, man. You know the game. You've been in it a long time, and I'm sure you and your partner got some good observations and insights. So,
yeah.
I'm sure it's a good podcast for boxing fans to be listening to, and I'm really happy to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh man, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. I had Andre Ward on the show a few months ago. I had tweeted, about how the show was and this and that. He said, man, I can't be on your show, and I said, definitely you could be on the show. So, we got a lot of audiences, just from great guys like you being on the show. So we done had, Devin Haney,
that's great.
You, Clarissa Shields. I mean, it's taking off. Yeah, it's
glad to hear that, man. So.
Yeah.
Anything you want to talk about, you got me. So let's. What's the first question or the first topic we got going here?
Man, listen. All right, hey, Tevin Farmer. Last one. Let me go, James, and then you got him. Tevin Farmer, Tank Davis. What's happening? What's going on with that situation?
I think it's inevitable at some point those guys will fight, but I think it's pretty clear based upon where we are right now that it ain't going to happen in the next few months. I don't know how big a deal that is because I still think there's big fights available to both guys.
Yes.
Clearly, one thing that we've been fighting. Tevin's done his last 4 fights on DAZN. They made him a really nice deal, and they were able to give him 4 fights in 1 year, which is unheard of. How many guys defend their title 4 times in 11 months? That's sort of unusual. But if they can deliver a big fight at DAZN, and, we've given them some names, any unification or Jojo Diaz, which I think would be a real big fight for Tevin, and the money's right, then we're probably going to stay at DAZN and do that fight. Tank Davis and Tevin would be a terrific fight. DAZN and Eddie Hearn made a real big offer to get Tank Davis over to DAZN. Tank and his people weren't interested. They made a counter offer to Tevin to come across and fight at a PBC, fight the fight there. I think whenever you have 2 sides of a fight and like the 2 numbers are as far apart as the 2 numbers were here, then it's probably not likely that fight's going to happen right at that moment.
That's right.
And then the other thing, just in fairness, like Tevin did 4 fights in a row at DAZN. DAZN had an ability to match his next fight. So if they offer something good enough, we're not going to walk away if it's a fight that we as a team we agree to and we like. But look, the one good thing about Tank and Tevin is they're both young champions, and it's not like the fight's going to get smaller, and I believe they'll meet. I think much more likely next year than this year, though.
Okay, all right, makes sense. James, go ahead, James.
I just wanted to ask you about a couple of situations, Lou, and I'm like, K9, thank you so much for taking the time tonight. But getting back to some of the health situations that we've seen in the ring, speaking especially of last week's fight, the cut that we had on who was it? Magdaleno's eye.
Mm-hmm.
When they talk about guys, like having to stay out, 6 months for the cut to heal, but the fighter will probably be back in the ring in 4 months. We know that you got a very short window. How do you handle things like that? I mean, 6 months to a fighter, that he loses his audience.
No, it's a long time, but you know what? It also just depends on the look. First of all, thank God no one has ever died of a cut, right? The problem with cuts is they tend to reopen, particularly if you have a cut like he had, or you had a cut like Badou Jack had, that savage cut he had in the fight with Marcus Brown, where you could see his skull almost. I mean, the problem with those kind of cuts is if you don't give them an adequate time to heal, they open up real quickly, and then you're looking at a situation in your next fight where your fight might get stopped in the first couple of rounds. So you don't want to see a fighter lose, 6 months of his career over a cut, but sometimes it's just necessary. See, to me, the much bigger issue is guys will get knocked unconscious, and they'll give them a 45-day suspension or a 60-day suspension. And basically, if you get only a 45-day suspension, you're allowed technically to fight in a fight 50 days later, 46 days later. That means you're probably going to the gym and sparring to prepare in a matter of days, and you're never recovering from the concussion. Or to me, that's the much more dangerous situation. Like, where it's not a cut, because like I said, no one ever died from a cut. No one ever died from a low blow. Where guys get permanently damaged is shots to the head and concussions and either knockouts or prolonged beatings over a lot of rounds. And I'm sort of going at it from a different direction, which is we don't put significant enough we're not significant enough with the amount of time we keep a guy out of a ring when he's been concussed. Because you shouldn't be able to go right back to the gym and be sparring a couple of weeks later, and you shouldn't be in a prize fight 50 days after you're knocked unconscious. And that to me is, the much greater concern. We got to take a good look in general at what's going on with health and safety in boxing, because like you have states where you need regular CAT scans and MRIs where the testing is significant, but then the majority of states in the United States, all you need is an eye test and an AIDS test. So if you go to a state where there's good medicals and they won't license you, you can go find a state that'll just let you walk into the ring basically with a blood test. And a guy that's been knocked out, 6 out of his last 10 fights, or a guy that's got a record, even if his record is positive, even if he's got more wins than losses, if you've been knocked out 12 times, 14 times, 16 times, there's a very good likelihood you shouldn't be fighting anymore. And we're not adequately protecting those kind of situations. And you looked at, remember a couple of weeks back, we lost 2 guys in 1 week. We had 2 deaths in the ring, 2 deaths in 1 week. Now, one of them, the one where Buddy McGirt stopped the fight and the kid was getting beaten up, maybe that fight could have been stopped even earlier, and maybe the kid wouldn't have had the same injury. But that was more of a tough one to call. I mean, he was fighting back, he was getting beaten up, but it wasn't completely and utterly one-sided. I thought it should have been stopped a little bit earlier, but from all the referees are taught that if a guy's punching back, the corner wants to give the guy the opportunity to continue. I think we have to change our general attitude. If you're getting your ass kicked and you're not going to win a fight, and you've lost every round, and you're in the 7th, 8th round, and it's clear you're not strong enough to hurt the other guy or knock him out. If not the corner itself, then the referee or the doctor, there's got to be a way of stopping that kind of fight, because nothing good comes out of it continuing. The guy has no chance of winning. A puncher's chance when you're not a puncher, it's not really there. If you're down 7 or 8 rounds to nothing, and you've been knocked down a couple of times, and the only way you're going to win is a knockout that's not going to come, why let you continue? I mean, it's no great victory to go the distance if you get your brains beaten in, And I was talking about those 2 deaths in the ring. The second one was totally avoidable. Guy was already suspended. He got his ass kicked in Germany all over the ring, and they put him on a 45-day suspension. And before the suspension was even over, the guy's father, who was his trainer, put him in a fight, and the kid died. And if you watch the fight, they were holding him up in the middle of the ring. It was a draw. He actually he didn't get beaten up. The fight was scored a draw, but his cornermen were holding him up when he was basically dying and lifting his hand in the air like he won. And then they announced the draw, and then before they could get him back in his corner, he had collapsed and was dying. We got to do a better job. We got to protect fighters better than we're doing. And we got to change health and safety laws and regulations so that they're more protective of the fighter. You shouldn't be victimized because you got courage. You shouldn't die in a prize fight because you're too proud to quit. We got to do better to protect the warrior from sustaining the kind of damage that ends his life or ruins his life.
Yeah, I remember all the criticism that Buddy used to take about stopping fights. People used to say, you stopped the fight too early, and that, then, now you kind of see why Buddy, does some of the things that he does.
Look,
look,
Jack.
I've been at multiple. I'm sorry. Continue, Ken.
No. I wanted to say this while I was on the tip of my tongue. I don't want to forget. But like you were saying, if a guy doesn't have a chance, then go ahead and stop the fight if he's taking a lot of punishment. What are you doing in a situation where a guy's taking punishment, but he has a chance, but then he ended up like Adonis Stevenson did?
That's a tougher one, man. I mean, that becomes a tougher call, particularly because it's hard to predict where a guy's really getting beaten up or hurt. You know what we got to do though? Nobody knows better. You've been a fighter. You've been in the ring. When you're hurt, you know it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And right now, I think a lot of times fighters get hurt, and they're concerned about not quitting, about showing courage, about trying to go the distance.
That's true.
If you're hurt and you're hurt, live to fight another day. It's
Absolutely.
not a disgrace to go back to your corner at the end of the round, or even to call for the doctor because you don't feel well. If you're in the middle of a round, then you start getting double vision. If you're in the middle of a round and your head starts throbbing and it's not normal, you're not used to it.
Yeah.
If you start feeling dizzy or you start feeling like you're not right, you don't owe it. You owe your greatest duty to yourself and your family, man. You don't owe it to a fan. You don't owe it to the promoter. You don't owe it to the people that are sitting in the arena. You don't owe it to them to kill yourself for their enjoyment. You don't owe it to them.
Yep.
If you know you're not right, check out. There's nothing that ain't quitting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to see a guy losing a fight and looking like he's just not trying. You've seen situations where you could look at a guy and you could say, "Oh my God, I didn't like that," because it looked like a guy quit, where there wasn't really a beating being given. He was just frustrated.
Yeah.
Like a no mas kind of situation is one thing.
Yeah.
But a situation where you're taking a lot of punishment and you don't feel right, that fighter shouldn't feel like he has to think twice about pulling out of that, ending that fight. Like if you don't feel well, if you've taken some damage, if your head's bothering you, if you feel dizzy, if your eyesight is affected, same way a guy's playing in a football game and he knows he's got a concussion, he goes off to the sideline. If a fighter knows he's hurt in the fight, check out. And anybody that criticizes you for doing that, shame on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that's got to be part of the answer.
Absolutely.
That's got to be part of the answer.
Hey, Lou, you know what, Lou? I remember some years ago, I lost to a guy named Joe Julio. So I took the fight on 3 week notice. I lost 36 pounds in 3 weeks. So I didn't have nothing. So he was hitting me so hard, man. I was like, when the referee asked me did I want to continue, in my mind I was like no, but I couldn't stop because I didn't want people to think that I was a quitter.
Yeah, but you know what, man? That might have been, look, every fighter who's had a career like yours, every fighter that's been a champion or been in the ring for a long, long time, had a long career, has taken damage. Everyone.
Yep.
You know, maybe there's a rare exception.
Yep.
Floyd Mayweather didn't get hit that hard that many times.
Right.
But the average, even champions, man, even guys that have had great careers have been knocked down, have been hurt, so, that's the kind of fight that later in your life, later in your career, maybe you would have been happy that you would have ended it a couple of rounds earlier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And luckily, you didn't sustain permanent damage in that fight.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, I remember that fight, and you were dead in the ring almost from the beginning.
There you go.
You know, you were dead at the weight.
Absolutely.
And that's the kind of fight too. And by the way, the weight loss thing is another fucking issue.
There you go.
And a lot of times injuries come with those swift losses of weight. Like, it's a double-edged sword, but I wonder if there were same-day weigh-ins, at least people have to be more honest about what fucking weight class they're in.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
a guy that goes in and weighs in, a guy that weighs in every fight and makes the weight, but then gains 20 pounds in the next, 12 hours or overnight, that's not healthy. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, a guy shouldn't walk in. If it's a middleweight fight, one guy shouldn't walk in the ring at 165 and the other guy walks in at 190. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't care that you weighed in at the same weight class the day before. When you walk in that ring, you're not the same weight class.
Yeah, that's true.
And,
that's true.
Maybe we got to also take a good look at weight gain and weight loss, because that's a big connection to brain injury. When you dehydrate yourself, your brain is in your head and it's surrounded by liquid, by water.
That's right.
And it's that liquid to some extent that protects your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're super dehydrated, there's not the liquid in your body. And when you get hit and you're dehydrated, your brain moves around in your head more. And that's really dangerous. So, we got to take a good look at because, here's the thing about boxing, man, almost more so than any other professional sport. Boxing's one of those sports where the rich get really, really, really rich. And most other people, even good quality fighters that have, competitive careers with winning records that fight on television, the majority of guys don't get wealthy. The majority of guys don't retire with enough money to live the rest of their lives. And if you're going to have that kind of career, you should at least walk away able to support yourself later because you still have your health.
That's right. Yeah.
Because if you don't have your health, the rest of it doesn't matter.
That's true.
I don't care who you are, particularly if you're not a heavyweight. You really probably shouldn't be fighting when you're about 40.
No.
And God willing, most of a guy's life is, or a good, at least half your life occurs when you stop boxing, and often more than that. And if you're not healthy enough to enjoy it, and you're not healthy enough, to go on and have a work and be productive after boxing, I'm not so sure that boxing career is worth it.
That's true. That's true. James?
Hey, great stuff, Lou.
Hey, that's Lou.
I'm going to take you back, though, man, because, you're talking about old horses. I'm a little older than you, probably a few decades, but Lou, 30 years ago today, we had Sweet Pea against Jose Luis, fight 2, I believe it was. Do you remember that fight?
Was that the one he was robbed, or was that the second one?
That was the second one.
That's the one he dominated.
Yeah, that's the one he was at his best.
Yeah, I mean, he was, in my mind, one of the greatest fighters who ever placed on gloves. And Pete had a lot of problems, man. I mean, he liked the party. He was a fun guy. He was a great time to be around. Look, he was a great guy to party with. I mean, he was so much fun to hang out with. But he had a lot of demons, man. He partied really hard, and he partied throughout pretty much his whole career. It's almost unbelievable to imagine how great he would have been if he didn't live and party so hard, because he already, in my mind, was one of the very best that ever laced on gloves, but he literally could have been one of the top, 2 or 3 guys that ever boxed. I mean, that's how good he was.
Oh, wow.
The first Ramirez fight, the scoring was ridiculous. If you watch the Chavez fight, he played with Julio Cesar Chavez. I thought he won in that fight 10 rounds, and then they managed to rob him. He really was, in my mind, one of the greatest fighters I've ever seen, and capable of doing anything. And it's underestimating how great he was to call him like just a great defensive fighter. He was a great fighter all the way around. He had a complete game. He was a great fighter all the way around. But his defense, he was one of the greatest defensive fighters ever. I mean, his defense was like amazing. If you were a boxing fan, you could sit there and enjoy just watching this guy's defense because he made people look silly. His defense was almost like offense. Like I remember a round, and I'm trying to think of who the opponent was, but I'm spacing out, where the crowd was like standing up applauding, and I don't think Pete threw a punch the whole round.
Yeah,
I got it might have been Cardona. The guy Cardona he fought, but there was a round in the fight where the other guy threw like 30 punches and never landed a single punch. Like nothing landed, right. And everything missed badly. And he was moving and he was feinting and he was moving his head and he was having fun with the other guy, and the crowd just started cheering because the other guy couldn't touch him. And that's how great he was.
Kind of like Willie Pep.
Yeah. Yeah, he had some Willie Pep that charisma, but Sweet Pea was in a class all by himself.
Oh yeah,
yeah, he was amazing, man. He was an amazing fighter, and he was a good dude too, really good guy.
Yeah, I said that because didn't Willie Pep win around one time without even throwing a punch?
Yeah, well, Willie Pep was another one. I mean, he was a defensive genius.
Yeah,
and Pete had that same thing. But I'll never forget something, man. I was at a fight. He was fighting Diabolis Hurtado, and I don't know how well he prepared for the fight. He just didn't look like himself. He looked like flat for a lot of the fight, and he was definitely losing. I mean, it was like late in the fight, around the 10th round, and I was thinking to myself, this thing's over. Like, if he doesn't knock this kid out, this fight's over. Yeah. And the amazing thing was he had already signed the contract for the De La Hoya fight next. So he needed to win to fight De La Hoya and get all that bread.
Right.
And after 10 rounds, he needed a knockout to win. And I went to the corner, and who's my guy from Houston? Ronnie Shields was in the corner, and Ronnie said, "Pete, man, you need to knock him out. Like, you need to knock him out." And Pete was like, "Yeah, I know." And boom, he comes out the next round. What does he do? He knocks him out.
Right.
Now, Purnell was not Deontay Wilder. Purnell was not Gervonta Davis.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't a puncher.
No.
He could punch, he could do everything, but he wasn't a puncher at all.
Right.
But he knew what he had to do, and he went out there, and he knocked out a really good fighter.
Yeah.
And I remember, leaving the arena that night thinking to myself, man, this guy's Superman. Like, this guy's a great, all-time great. Like, to pull that out when he absolutely needed it, not being a puncher, but needing that knockout and going out and being able to get it against a world championship class guy. I mean, that was Pernell Whitaker.
Did he send a man through the ropes that fight? Did he send him through the ropes?
I think so. I think it was a pretty emphatic knockout. I mean, he went out there and he hurt that guy in that round. I mean, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Well, Lou, thank you so much, man, for coming on and spending some time with us tonight. We missed you having you around, man, because we know you got so many things going on. Hey, why don't you let everybody?
Well, it's nice to talk to you, James. Nice to meet you. We haven't spoken before, I don't think, on the air. And K9 and I go back a long time. That's my man. So, anytime any guys of you guys want to talk about anything, and I'll make myself available. It might take a week or so to schedule me, but hey, K9's good people, and I enjoyed this spending a little time with you tonight, and I look forward to talking to you guys in the future.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lou.
Any social media you guys got?
Well, I mean, the only social media I really do, and it's I sort of like it because it's not only boxing. I got to admit it. I don't use it only for boxing, but I like Twitter, and it's at Lou Dibella on Twitter, and you can catch me there. And I'll say the one thing: I think what you see is what you get from me on Twitter. I think I tend to be myself. So it's at Lou Dibella on Twitter, and thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Lou.
Thank you, Lou. You have a great evening.
I'm gonna bring my son to you. I'm gonna bring my son to you. That's my guy.
Hey, I look forward to it, man.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
okay, Lou. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Good night.
Oh man, that was.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. Hey, listen.
That was.
Yeah, that was a legend. That's the legend, Lou Dibella. He did a real good job for so many fighters, man. I remember him signing Andre Berto, and the kind of money he was getting Andre Berto for the fighters he was fighting, it was unbelievable. I was like, wow, he was getting, man. Berto was making like $750,000. I'm talking about he fighting against guys I never even heard of. I'm like, man, who was his promoter? Lou Dibella. Yeah.
Well, K9, we have a young man on now. His name is Mr. Quinton Rankin, and Quinton is actually getting ready to sign with Team Certified. I did make a mistake here because he now just texted me that he had wanted to talk with Lou. But I'll have to make sure that the next time we have Lou on the show that we bring him in as a panelist. But Quinton, are you there?
Yes. How's everybody?
How you doing, man? Quinton, we like your last name. Boy, you ranking. What's your ranking?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm trying to be ranked number one. That's the whole game plan, man. I'm trying to be number one.
Hey, listen. Listen.
I got a lot of experience in boxing, so I'm just trying to move my way up.
Hey, you don't want to just be ranking up, huh?
Yeah, I just fought Dawson. Yeah, I just fought Dawson about maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, maybe.
Oh, I heard about that fight.
Yeah.
Great fight.
It was an interesting fight, man. I felt like I started a little slow. I showed Dawson a little bit too much respect, but once I knocked him down, I felt like I could have got him out of there, man. But they didn't even count it as a knockdown when I knocked him down. They gave him 40 seconds to recover. Then when I jumped on him, they pointed me twice after that point. So it was a very controversial fight, but a lot of people said, I did good. I represented my state well. I'm definitely trying to get back where I'm fighting all top fighters, man. I'm looking to fight the best of the best. I've sparred with Andre Ward. I sparred with Peter Quillen. I sparred with Roberto Ramirez. I sparred with Andre Durrell. I sparred with a lot of champions, man. And now it's like, I don't want to be a stepping stone. I want to be someone who is carrying titles. You know what I'm saying? But it's very difficult coming out of the city I'm coming from, because as soon as I come and I tell them I'm from North Carolina, I really don't get that much respect. I got to go in there and earn it. I mean, you should anyway, but it's harder for me coming where I'm from, So it's an uphill battle, but I'm in it. I'm in it to win it.
I got you. Tell them you from Detroit.
Yeah. Tell them I'm from Detroit, right?
Exactly. Absolutely, right.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to, man. I'm gonna have to. I need some of that work anyway. I'll go to Detroit if they got the work, man. I'm trying to get the work in wherever I can get it, bro.
Oh yeah, it's definitely down here. Yeah, it's definitely some work in Detroit. We always got some work. Yep. But no, that was good. So go ahead.
No, I was actually gonna say, man, y'all was touching on some good issues in boxing, man, about the injuries. I wanted to touch base on just the injuries. It's like, a lot of times, man, as fighters, we don't really know that we're injured until after the fight, because we got adrenaline. We got so much adrenaline popping that we can't think we got so much adrenaline that we don't realize that we're injured until after the fight. Like, I don't feel my bumps and bruises, honestly and truly, until like maybe like later after that adrenaline. So it's hard to say, you just walk away from the fight because you're a competitor, you want to win. So I think that's it's a fine line, and I think that you have to depend on your corner to gauge you more. That's why it's important to have the chemistry of your corner, because I remember that fight that I forgot that young boy died last month. He died. It was two of them, but one was Bertie McGurt's trainer. I mean, he was training him. And Buddy McGirt was like, stop. He's like, he gauged that the guy wanted to win, but I feel like the dude just didn't want to quit, but Buddy stopped the fight. Now, he probably felt that earlier in the fight. Buddy probably felt that earlier in the fight. But there's no fighter that's going to say, hey, man, I'm going to live to fight another day. That's never going to happen. I mean, to ask somebody to say that is to ask somebody to put your will down. And I think that's very difficult to say that as a fighter. I would never put my will down. Now, of course, I think about my family and things afterwards. But when you're in the fight, you got tunnel vision. You want to win, especially if you know that you got a puncher's chance or you feel that you are competitive. I mean, yeah, taking shots. You never want to take shots. But it's a thin line. It's hard for a fighter to really gauge that. And I think that we got to protect these fighters a lot more with health benefits. Like, most shows only give you 7 days to go to the hospital. I may have symptoms that last a whole month, so I feel like, all these millionaires and billionaires, they need to take care of these fighters a little bit more, man. Give us 30 days to go check ourselves out. I may be symptomatic for, you normally going to have some symptoms 7 days after, but I may have symptoms for a whole month after. But you cutting me off at 7 days, I don't think that's fair to a fighter who is a poor man's sport. So I kind of wanted to say that while Lou was on the phone, because I wanted to hear what his opinion was about that.
Oh,
but,
that's good.
What do you guys think about that?
That's good. That's good. Hey, I think you're making some great points. One of the real great points, other than longer than 7 days, because like you say, you might not start feeling it until 2 weeks later. You know what I mean? You all of a sudden feel bad.
Right.
I like the fact too that you said the adrenaline. Adrenaline makes a lot of sense. You can be all the way up. That's like this is going off the subject a little bit, but Scarface, for instance, when Scarface had all that cocaine up in him, his adrenaline was real high. So he was taking all them bullets.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, boom, from behind.
Yeah.
He didn't see it, and it was over with.
Right.
So that's the same thing.
Right.
You don't see it as a boxer. You got all that adrenaline. You don't see it.
No.
But then next thing you know, it's over with.
Nope. It's over. It's over. And I guarantee you those guys walked out that arena, but then all of a sudden that brain started swelling. All of these different things happened to them. I mean, the guy was talking. All of them was talking before they died. You know what I'm saying? Now, some of them, they don't talk. They don't walk away from the sport, but a lot of them do walk away. It's the aftershock that really kills you. It's the swelling after the fight, after the adrenaline is gone. Because, I'm from the hood, man. I've seen people get shot and run a whole half a mile with a bullet in them and then collapse and die. You feel what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I know that adrenaline can push you to survive. Yeah. And I think that people got to understand, like, there's no fighter that's going to tap out. If you tapping out, you in the wrong business anyway.
Absolutely.
So you should have never been a boxer.
Should have been an
MMA
MMA
fighter. You know what I'm
fighter,
saying? Like,
right.
it's no way that my will, it's no way my will is going to tell me, okay, it's time to quit. No, man, that's what my corner's for. But we have to do better after the fight. Take care of these fighters. Stop giving these fighters 7 days. It's going to be 7 days. I'm going to tell you, man, after a tough fight, I'll sit in the house for 2 or 3 days, and I'll recover. I'll sleep. I'll drink. You know what I'm saying? But my symptoms could last longer than 7 days. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like, it's unfair to a fighter who is depending on not only the purse, but he's depending on the medical attention that they provide, which is really poor. You got $1 million worth of insurance, but it only lasts for 7 days. I think that's terrible. I think that's garbage. The NFL has people that's taking care of the players, that's putting in a pot for the players afterwards. In a boxer's life, after you take that damage, your family is who's taking care of you. There's nobody protecting you a year or 2 or 3 after you have PTSD from boxing. You get what I'm saying? There's no commission that wants to make sure that after the sport that you're not mentally going crazy. I know fighters. Calvin Seabrooks right now. Calvin Seabrooks is from my area. He's from Charlotte. He's a champion. You know, he was one of the first champions in Charlotte, North Carolina. He talked so different right now. I'm talking about his whole speech. Sometimes you have to, you know, really listen to what he's saying because his words are slurred.
Yep.
And it's like, man, where was his protection? Where was the CAT scans? Where was the people that should have been taking care of him? All that man get is a standing ovation at a local show.
Wow.
And he's doing security for a school. You get what I'm saying? He's doing security for a school. This is crazy. He did all this entertainment for the world, and this is all he gets is it's a standing ovation and a pat on the back. You get what I'm saying? So I mean, at the end. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What you forget is that in all these other sports, basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, all of them got unions. All of them got unions.
Yes.
Boxers don't have one.
Yeah.
Every time someone tries, and K9, I know you've been through this, and I know you've probably been approached by this more than one time in your career. That boxers need a union, but when you start talking about, how the benefits are supposed to come and all that stuff there, then all of a sudden, everybody's concerned about health, but nobody wants to take some money out of their purse to help pay for it.
Hey, you know what? That's true. That's true. And we need to set up a retirement fund so when you retire, you don't have to be worried about where your next check gonna come from. I see fighters today. I'm talking about world champions with no car, walking up and down the street, ain't got nothing.
That's the truth. But my thing is this: you got the cash cows, you got the De La Hoyas, you got the big companies. Why don't you tax them every year? And I mean, at the end of the day, they looking for tax deductions anyway. Why don't you put those tax deductions and those charity events into something that is going to benefit people who really need the money? This is a poor man's sport. I mean, people have to speak up about it. I mean, all of these millionaires, man, somebody needs to speak up. That's all I'm saying.
That's true, but that's why it's called boxing.
You're definitely right, but that's why you need to have the younger generation like yourself and the guys coming up. You need to, that's something that your generation has to change, because K9 and them, hey, like you said, the best they're going to get is a standing ovation at some event, because, we're old, so we can't come up with fresh ideas. We can, but we do need the support of the younger fighters growing up. I think that's why you see a lot of younger fighters now making their own promotion companies and trying to get some of that money back, because there's no one to look after you.
But James, the people with the money, or the powers to be, those guys can make things happen. So we got to get guys that's out there, that's up there, coming together like the WBC or Suleiman. He can make some things happen. They real good at bringing all these new diamond belts and super champion and all that. They can come together and make something happen. There's nothing we can't do when we all come together.
They can. But are you willing to say, okay, we're not going to fight for a year? How many guys can afford to do that? Especially when you're talking about young guys like Quinton. I mean, they can't afford for their stock to go down. They have to fight in order to feed their families. Guys that are champions, maybe they can fight once or twice a year. Speaking of that, Quinton, are you looking to get a little bit more busier this year? I see, you've only, you had 2 fights in 2018. You had 3 in 2017. Even though you've had some really good fights here, you need to get a little more busier. I know that there's you're talking about coming over to team certified. Is this part of the reason why you want to get a little busier? Like you say, coming from North Carolina, and what I see, your last two fights. One was in Dallas, and the last one, of course, with Chad was in Nantucket. But other than that, you've kind of been sticking close to home, right?
No, not at all. I mean, I haven't fought in North Carolina. I don't normally fight in North Carolina. Actually, I haven't fought in North Carolina. I fought in North Carolina once in the last probably 3 years, man. I've been on the road quite a bit, and the reason being is because I know that when you fight on the road, you coming in as the underdog regardless. You feel what I'm saying? But I feel like I've been in there with so many top fighters that, I'm willing to take that risk for my family. And in order for me to make myself known and make myself a household name, I have to take fights. Now, it's been fights that I have signed a contract and they literally pulled out. You know what I'm saying? It's been names that, I would call out and they would send me a contract, and then within weeks, they're injured, or they went another route. I mean, I've had contracts. And I sent them in, and I would keep asking them, man. For one, I'm southpaw. For two, I'm progressing and I'm getting better. So people don't know what they're getting. Like even Chad, at the end of the fight, Chad told me he underestimated. He thought it was going to be like this, and he thought it was going to run through me. He didn't think I was going to go where I went. I planned on knocking Chad out. And if I felt like if I would have got my fair shake, I would have knocked Chad out if I would have got my fair shake in that fight, and it would have been like, just let me fight and let me do me. They pointed me for hitting him in the back of the head, but I'm standing right in front of the man throwing punches just like him. He didn't turn his back. What it was they didn't like the fact that once I heard him, I jumped on him. The referee told me he was going to disqualify me 4 times in that fight. He told me he was going to disqualify me 4 times in that fight. That's the most I've ever heard a ref tell me they was going to disqualify me. So at the end of the day, man, I want to fight. I want to fight the best. I'm not afraid to fight. I'm an old school fighter. Listen, I got about 4 to 5 more years in this game, and I'm going to fight whoever they put in front of me if the money's right.
Hey, shout out to Team Certified too.
Yeah,
so you say that they warned you a whole lot of times was the fight in Chad Dawson's hometown?
Yeah, every time he was warning me, saying he was going to argue with him, because I realized something. Number one, if you argue with the ref, you're wasting energy. And number two, if you argue with the ref, you're just going to irritate him, and he's going to keep on agitating you. So I just stayed in the fight. He said something to me. I just shook my head. I didn't speak. I just let the fight progress, and I just let it progress. I didn't want to be combative to what he was saying, but I want to knock Chad out. I didn't come in here to pity pat Chad. I didn't come in here to lose. I came in here to knock Chad head off. And if this is boxing, man. This is not kumbaya. Like, what do they expect me to do? Chad is punching me. What am I supposed to do? Be his punching bag? No, I'm trying to knock Chad out. And I think that this was his comeback fight. He was Connecticut's 2-time, 3-time world champion. They wanted him to move on and fight bigger and better fighters, and so they felt. And I didn't come in there for that. I came in there to make my name on Chad. And I think I earned a lot of people's respect. I feel that I need to get better on certain aspects of my fight game. But the thing is, I'm a student in this game, and I'm determined to be a world champion. No matter what it looks like, no matter what it is, I'll be a Holyfield of the game. I'll be a Glenn Johnson of this game. Because at the end of the day, it don't matter what they do, what they take from me. At the end of the day, I got something that they can't measure. They can't measure my will. You get what I'm saying? I got the skill to be in there with anybody. They can't measure the type of man that I am or the devastation that I have in my life. So I'm willing to put it all on the line, because when it's all said and done, I'm going to retire boxing. Boxing won't retire me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to give everything I got. And that's what it is, man. I dedicate myself, my soul, my body, everything to this sport until I can't do it no more. And I'm going to walk away, and I'm going to kiss my family, and I'm going to say I did the best that I could, and that's how I want to lead the game.
So is your video on YouTube, you versus Chad Dawson?
Nah, you have to go to CES Boxing. It's actually on their website. And it's a highlight. If you go to my Facebook page, it's actually a highlight of the fight. You can basically see it basically shows all of the action. throughout the fight. If you scroll down my Facebook page, you'll see the knockdown. You'll see when they pointed me. You'll see when they continue to point me. Now the commentators were all Chad Dawson fans, so you gotta mute the commentary to really watch the fight. But I think that you'll be interested to see, man. I think that Chad underestimated me. I think the crowd underestimated me, and I think when I left, I think Chad gave me my respect. I hushed the crowd a lot. The crowd was loud, and in his favor, I hit him. And all of those big shots, and then he went down, and I think I hushed the crowd, man. I think I changed people's perspective. But yeah, you just gotta go check my my Facebook. I wish they put it on YouTube because I really want people to see it. But
it turned out to be a win because you fought against a former champion, and you feel like you won a fight, and the crowd was with you, and they showed you love, and even the former champ, Chad Dawson, showed you love too. So I look at it as a win-win.
Right. Well, I think it's a progress, man. I feel like I could have did a lot better, and that's the thing. All of my issues that I seen during that fight, I look at the fight as if I was looking at this fighter, how would I help him improve? And that's what I look at. I don't look at things like I don't pat myself on the back for things that I should do. I always criticize myself for things that I didn't do, and I think that that's helping me progress as a fighter. So. I'm always trying to get better, man. There's only one way to get better in this game, and that's just stay in the game, So don't ever get overzealous and think that you did good. Everybody was like, you did good in the Chad fight. You did good. I said, well, listen, man, I didn't win, and my ultimate objective is to win. It's not to knock Chad down. It's not to hurt Chad. It's to beat Chad, and I didn't beat Chad. So I feel like it's back to the drawing board, man.
Hey, with that speech you just had, you kind of remind me of what Mayweather said about his dad. He said on Fight Hype, he said, man, my dad, never told me that I was the greatest and I was the best. I did a good job. He said he always wanted me to do better.
Right. I think that's the only way to pull greatness out of yourself is to really put yourself in a position of trying to be better. Like, I could win a fight. I knocked that dude out in Texas. He was 11-1. Now, of course, it was funny because BoxRec said that I lost. When that fight first came out, they tried to say I lost the fight. I guess because they was expecting me to go in there and lose, but then they had to reverse it, because for whatever reason, I guess they was expecting this dude to knock me out. But they reversed it, and when they reversed it, they made it a TKO instead of a KO, which I KO'd him. But it was crazy, man. So
they had that on BoxRec. It was on BoxRec that you had lost the fight before the fight started.
No. Like, when the fight ended, they made the fight like I lost the fight. And then I had to call and complain to the commission that, I know this is your Texas fighter, but I knocked him out. And he was like, well, that's a mistake. Then they changed it days later, So it's just like, it's crazy, the politics of the game, man. And it's like, it's hard to do it when you don't have a team, man. So I just pray to God that things go well with Team Certified and 1913 and everything's good. Shout out to Tay for, my cousin Tay for hooking me up with Team Certified, man. And, I just pray to God that I get the proper exposure because I'm like Chad Dawson said, if you go look at his YouTube and you go listen to what he said in the interview, this kid Rankin is much better than his record. He's much better, man. I done been in there with so many world champions, man. I had a guy tell me, I went to Top Dog camp. I know you heard of Thomas Williams Jr. Yeah. I went to Top Dog camp, and I went to camp with him twice. And when I went to camp with him the last time, his whole team told me, he said, bro, you are not an opponent. He said, you just need to be built. He said, you are not an opponent, bro. You can fight. He said, you can really fight, bro. You're not a sparring partner. You're not an opponent. You can really fight, and you just need the exposure. And it's the truth, man. I'm a lot better than people even know. And you can't gauge me because if you look at my old fights, you'll say, oh, he does this. And then if you look at the Chad fight, you'll say, oh, man, he improved on this. Or he looks stronger. He looks this. And then when you see my next fight, you're going to be like, dang, he even improved since the Chad fight. And the reason being is because I have to do this, man. I have to be successful for my kids. I have to. I don't have a choice. I have to win. I can't lose, man. I can't lose, and every loss is a lesson. I'm not going to lose, man. I will be a world champion. That's how greatness. I look at it.
Hey, I see greatness in you.
I appreciate it.
I hear you
I appreciate it, man.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate
Now,
it, man.
Does the fact that you're on this side of 30, does that motivate you even more? The fact that maybe you feel that you have a certain time limit also. Like we were talking about, you want to be able to enjoy your kids, and you want to be able to talk to your kids, and things like that. You don't want to be, the guy sitting over there in the wheelchair, with the rag around your neck, bib around you. I mean, you want to be coherent when you get out of the game. So, what do you consider a great timetable for yourself? I mean, K9, I think, won his first championship. How old were you, man?
37.
41? 40?
Yeah. No, first world title
Wow.
was 37. My second world championship was 41. That's how I became the oldest junior middleweight world
Wow.
champ of all time. Yeah.
Wow, man. That just sent chills down my body, bro. That tells me, man, that I need to keep pushing, bro, and I need to keep going, man. Bernard Hopkins was my main focus, and then it was Glenn Johnson. He was one of my inspirations. You know what I'm saying? And it's now you, because I didn't know that about you, K9. I didn't know that about you, champ.
Wow.
I didn't know that, and that's I use everything in my life.
Oh yeah.
I use everything in my life as motivation. I use it. You have to, man. You got to use every down as motivation, man.
Man, you got to.
To answer your question, man, I'm 100% dedicated to being a world champion, and I'm not going to necessarily put a timeline on it. As long as my body feels good, I feel young, man. I didn't have an extensive amateur background. I started boxing late. I started boxing at 20. You know what I'm saying? At 20, 21. So I didn't really have an amateur. So I don't have all those punches and all of those.
Absolutely.
All those amateur. Yeah. So I got a young body, man. People I walk down the street with a backpack on, and these young college kids think I'm their age. I'm like, nah, man. I'm 32. I got a 11-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. So I'm like, my son, my daughter is like 6 years younger than you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, bro, I'm reserved. I'm a vegetarian. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't party. I don't have a social life, bro. It's boxing or nothing. So I'm well focused. I'm 100% focused, and I thank God that I got my partying out the way late in life. I mean, early in my life, man, because I hit the streets early in the game. I hit the streets at like 16, 17. I hit the streets early. So by the time I was 21, I realized how the streets was taking people out. It was people that was getting killed left and right. So I realized that, at the end of the day, if I don't find something, man, either I'm going to end up dead or in jail. And boxing literally saved my life. So, I take it serious, man. I'm not going to take this opportunity that God gave me, and I'm not going to allow that time to go by. I'm going to capitalize on it.
Yeah, 32 years old, brother, is young. How many fights you done had?
Yeah. I think I'm at 20. Man, I'm at 20, 22, 21 fights right now. It's crazy. I only got, altogether, bro, I only got 31 fights. I'm talking about amateur and pro. A lot of people don't know that. So
how many
everybody
amateur...
who I fight, man, they got at least 100 fights more than me.
Yeah, how many amateur fights you had?
I had seven amateur fights, and I had 3 tough man fights. So I fought one tough man. They made you fight 3 times in a night.
Oh, okay.
So I won that. So I was undefeated. I was undefeated all throughout my amateurs. I was 7-0 as an amateur, and then I ran through the tough man, and then I went pro immediately after I won the tough man.
Okay, so we got a lot in common because I had 10 amateur fights.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you had 10.
We got a lot in common, man.
Now you got to get that jury now.
Yeah.
You got to get that jury.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, that's the plan, man. I gotta get that jury. Hey, it's all or nothing, man. I'm in it, man. As long as I'm healthy and as long as I can continue to learn, I'm gonna continue to fight. And that's just point blank period.
Hey, and keep God first. That's what's gonna do it for you. When I got saved, man, that's when I became a world champion the first time and the second time.
Yeah. Well, that's who been keeping me motivated. God gave me a vision, bro. When I was like, I think like I think I was still amateur. I think I had 3 amateur fights, bro, and I had a dream. I'll never forget it. And like before I even had my first fight, I told God, I said, God, if this ain't what I'm supposed to do, then let me get knocked out so I can stop wasting your time and stop wasting my own time. Bro, I want all my fights by knockout.
Wow.
All my fights by knockout. All my fights. I want every amateur fight by knockout. And even my first 4 pro fights, I want them by knockout. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, I knew that's what God wanted me to do. But he gave me a dream, right?
Yeah.
He showed my face, and it was the Conquer box. It was like a Conquer box stats. And I was fighting a world champion, and it just showed my face and somebody else's face on TV. Now, that has yet to happen. I have yet to see that dream happen. But I know it's going to happen because I'm getting closer and closer every year. I'm getting closer and closer every year because God is not a liar. I may lie, but God didn't put that vision in me for no reason. So I know I can do it. I know I can. You know?
Right. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Man. I'm focused, man. I'm focused.
Tunnel vision, right?
Tunnel vision. You got to. You know how it is. You know how it is, K9. You know how it is. If you don't see yourself as a champion, you'll never be a champion. Period.
Exactly. That's right. And at the end of the day too, you gotta go out there and knock these guys out like you did when you was amateur. All your wins were knockouts, so you gotta keep knocking these guys out. Train hard enough that you gotta knock these guys out. Because one thing about me that helped me especially when I was an amateur, I wasn't going out there just to win. I said, forget winning. I'm about to knock his head off. So you got to go out there and knock these guys out in pro too. Then you don't have to worry about getting cheated. Knockout sell.
Yeah, you're right. You know what my problem is though? I was so dependent on the knockout that I didn't learn some of my fundamentals. You understand? So like when you start raising the level and raising the bar, you realize that these guys are looking for your left hand. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if that's all you got, then they like, well, if I take away his left hand, then I'm good. But then I'm starting to learn, like, the Chad fight. So the biggest thing the Chad fight taught me was to learn the check hook. If you got the check hook, you got a good jab, and you got a check hook, you can set the left hand up because you start making them look like Deontay Wilder. People look at Wilder, they really don't see what he's doing in there. He's doing some very, very intelligent stuff. Wilder has a long jab, and he has a good check hook. Now, the hook is not going to knock you out, but it sets up that right hand so perfectly because you got to look for it. You got to look for the hook. You got to look for the hook. Every great fighter, Roy Jones, Andre Ward, every fighter that you know that is great, they had a good check hook. Floyd has one of the best check hooks. And it's like, once I think me adding the check hook to my arsenal is really, really finna change everything, man. I'm really excited about my next fight because you think that it's just a slick left hand. If you look at that knockdown from Chad, I hit Chad with a perfectly timed uppercut. It was so perfectly timed, man. Right in the middle of the ring, he walked in. I said, all right, if he walks forward one more time, I'm going to throw the hardest uppercut and hook. And he walked straight forward. And I stayed still because he was getting me to back up. But then I stayed still. I looked at his head. I said, he's moving left to right. I said, if he moves to the right one more time, he going to fall right into my line of fire. And he did. Boom, uppercut. Boom, hook. And he dropped straight down. And I realized that, you can't load up on these guys that's on that next level. Like, you got to be strategic. You got to set them up. You got to make them think you're going to go left and then go right. You got to make them think that the uppercut's coming and then throw the cross. You got to make them think you're going to the head and then go to the body. You got to make them think that you finna throw a punch, but you just feinted them. You got to make them think that I'm finna feint. Nah, now I'm throwing a hook and a cross. So that's the thing. It's a thinking man game, man. You got to be smart and you got to be defensive. I think my defense is the thing that really Chad was surprised at. I think he thought he was going to be able to hit me at will, and he said that if you go look at his interview, he's like he was very slick and he was tricky. He had a sneaky left hand and he was better than what his record was, and that's true. I mean, I've been studying Chad Dawson his whole career. So I knew I was gonna hurt him. I didn't think I was gonna hurt Chad. It was just, when would I hurt Chad? When am I gonna hurt Chad? That was the whole thing. When will I hurt Chad Dawson? And as soon as I dropped him, I said, yep, I knew. I got him. I dropped him in the 5th round. And I knew it. I hurt him in the 2nd, though. And the ref helped him out again. He said I was roughhousing him. Then I heard him again. I dropped him in the fifth, and I jumped on him in the end of the fifth. They didn't stop the clock. The clock never stopped. And then the ref pointed me twice. They pointed me twice after that. The scorecards was 74 to 78. It was that close. You get what I'm saying? So, it was an interesting fight, man. I mean, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Quinton, we have a next guest on the line.
Okay.
Former champion, super middleweight champion, Mr. Ishe Smith. If you want to stay on and talk with the champ, that's fine.
Hey James.
Right now we're going to bring in
super welterweight, not super middleweight. Super welterweight, or junior middleweight.
Well, I'm going by what BoxRec says, so y'all call BoxRec.
Okay.
So,
hey, they lied about Rankin. Hey, Rankin, they lied to you too.
Hey,
yeah, they did.
Yeah. Hey, the thing I know is that the two of you fought, so y'all know what the weight was and the whole 9 yards. So
absolutely.
Right. So, we don't have to talk about BoxRec because y'all was in the fight. So now
we was in the BoxRec.
That's it. Yeah, see, I was in the BoxRec. Y'all was in the boxing ring. So let's talk about right. I believe. I don't know. This might be the first show that y'all had together since that particular fight, or have you been on together since then?
Yeah, we don't actually. I don't actually reached out to him on Instagram though. Yep. Hey Smith.
Yeah. Well,
Ishe.
Yeah, I'm here. Y'all hear me?
Yeah. What up, though? Sugar Shay, what's up, bro? You all right?
Hey, what's up, man? How y'all doing, man?
Man, we fine, man.
What's going on, champ? How you doing, champ?
Nothing much, man. Just relaxing. How's everything?
Man.
How y'all doing, man?
Oh, man, we doing good, man. How was that Vegas weather treating you out there? This K9, how that Vegas weather treating you?
Man, it's hot out here right now, man. So we got one more, just a few more weeks, man, and we'll be past all this heat. August is the hottest month, so just a few more weeks.
Hey, yeah, so because James out there in California, he always bragging. So whenever he want to brag, I'm just going to call you.
Yeah. We got that good weather out there in Cali, man. It's like the perfect weather.
Right.
I mean, I keep telling you, I'm in San Diego, K9. You need to get out here, boy.
Hey, look, it costs the floss, man. Y'all out there with that y'all got to have a lot of money at. I love Detroit, boy. You know, you can have a few dollars in Detroit.
You got to be right messing around.
Exactly. I was gonna say in Detroit, you can have a few dollars, man. You like rich out here. The way the economy was and how it is out here.
Right. Yeah, well, no. You can't play rich in California.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Ishe, what's up, brother? You so you about to do the bare knuckles then, huh?
Yeah, man. You know, it just kind of fell into my lap, man. It's not something I was looking into. They reached out and contacted me, and took me a few weeks to decide, and I just finally made the decision to to come back after I had retired to do something, man. I had kind of started missing it, after I saw Manny did what he did at his age, started missing it a little bit, and it just was the right opportunity to come back and do something fresh, do something new.
Exactly. Yep. I believe whoever you fight, you're gonna knock them out, man. Cause you know what I'm saying, you're a good fighter, man. You know, I underestimated you when we fought. You had a little more pop than I thought you had.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. That was a good fight, man. Good event.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in your hometown. That was I respect you for giving me the shot, because you didn't have to do that. So I always be grateful for that, man, because you definitely could have fought like a Canelo or somebody else and got paid, but you gave me a shot, and thank you so much, man, for that.
Oh man, that's good. Hey, you know I was mad when you took my title to Vegas though. But what can you do? Hey, so when you won that title, when you won that title for me though, wasn't you? Didn't that make you the first ever Vegas world champion?
Yeah, maybe the first ever in Las Vegas history. So it was big, man. Just a big event, big accomplishment. Something I'm pretty sure when you became world champion, something you dream about when you're a little kid, and then it finally happened. It's like the greatest feeling in the world. So I mean, it's tough. I mean, this is a hard hustle, man. So I mean, you know it. You know how it is, the ups and downs in this game. So you just got to keep striving and pushing forward, and just have a positive team around you. But this game definitely ain't for the faint-hearted. It's a tough game, man.
Yeah, this so hold on, James. You up there hogging, man. This is my contender comrade, man. He was on season 1. I was on season 2. Calm down, bro. We done made we done made history.
I haven't said a word.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe that was other young gentleman trying to talk to you.
Maybe you was snoring. All right. Hold on, Rankin. Let me say one other thing then. So look, Floyd real good. Floyd real good at getting in guys' head. So when Floyd was at the fight, you and Floyd was at the fight, both of y'all got on my head when y'all was like, man, he said, man, Ishe making more money than you, and you the champ of the world. Well, did you make more money than me that day? Because I sure was wondering about that.
Floyd, he's a good salesman, a good talker.
Yeah.
He's done well. I mean, retired on top, 50-0, and can nobody ever take that away from him. What he accomplished, his record, he's done well for himself, man. And he definitely can go back. You could take him and put him with the greats. He'll be in the conversation. He may not always be some people pick as the greatest ever, but he definitely in the conversation. But a lot of people can't. A lot of fighters today can't say that. So it was a pleasure working with him and seeing what he accomplished and everything.
Hey, so it might not be over with though. You might end up coming back to the actual boxing ring with the gloves on. Who knows?
Yeah, man. It's something that I've explored, something I've thought about. Obviously, got to take care of business first with this. And we'll see what's out there. There's some names out there that, I like to mix it up with. And, we'll see what happens. I mean, my last couple fights, before the Lubin fight, I fought Julian Williams. That was a, close, tough fight. And right after he fought me, he went on to win the world title. Then I fought Tony Harrison. That was another split decision, tough, close fight. And right after me, he went on to win a world title. So I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit more Dawg, a little more fight in this Dawg than I thought. So we're gonna definitely explore all the opportunities after this and see what's out there for me.
Okay, yeah. So Rankin and James, let me say one more other thing before y'all try to Debo. So in doing that, hey, so in doing that though, Ishe. So think about this though. The guys that you fought, it probably was a year before you fought. And then you went out there for the top dogs. I'm talking about if they were number 1, they became world champions after that. So maybe you need to just fight a guy in the top 25. They ain't gotta be the number 1 guy just to get your feet back wet.
Right.
And then go out there and shoot for the home run.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think towards the end of my, before the end, before I fought Lubin, I definitely think inactivity, because Julian, I think, was a little bit more active than me. I know Harrison was, and so was Lubin. And I think that probably played a role. And all those guys, those guys are 3 of the best junior middleweights in the world. I mean, 2 of them right now are world champions.
Absolutely.
One has, beat the guy that everybody was scared to fight. He beat Godzilla. So, I mean, and to fight those guys to Harrison to a split decision, and Julian Williams, it's a fight that many people thought I won or could have been a draw. To have that kind of showing against those 2 guys, it's just a lot of inactivity. Even when I fought Lubin, Lubin's a great up-and-coming young fighter. It's just, off again, just a lot of inactivity. And, when you get to our age, man, you can't just – if you're still fighting, you need to be a little bit more active.
Absolutely.
And, I want to be more active. If I decide to come back, I definitely want to be more active than I was towards the end.
Absolutely. Yep. Go ahead, Rankin, James. Appreciate you, my guy. We're going to say something else, though, before we get off, for real.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask him one quick question. I just wanted to ask him, man, how do you feel about bare knuckle fighting and hand protection, man? I mean, I've definitely been offered to do it. The problem is, man, I broke my hands in 10-ounce gloves and wraps. So I think about that, doing bare knuckles. I'm thinking like, man, I don't know if my hands could take it. I don't even like fighting in the street, but I'm fighting, for a bunch of, rounds with no gloves on. So what you think about that?
I thought about that too.
Well, 19 years, I never had hand problems. I've never broken a hand or had really no issues with my hands. And, everybody say the, getting cut aspect. Well, I've been cut in sparring. I've been cut, in fights. I've been headbutted and been cut. So cuts is just a part of the game. I'm not really worried so much about my hands just because I've never really had hands problems. And, it's all part of the game, man. It's just all part of the game. You got to take the, the good with the bad. Some people say, Paulie, when he did the bare knuckle, he broke his hands, and he hurt his hand. And Paulie has always had hand problems. Anybody that followed boxing that has followed Paulie's career somewhat extensively know that Paulie has fought with broken hands. He's put, gutsy performances on with hurt hands, broken hands, and that just hasn't been my MO for 19 years. So it's not something I want to worry about now. I'm just gonna go in there and do what I've done for 19 years. I know if I'd have came back to boxing right away, I haven't been the luckiest guy being on the B side. I wasn't ready to be somebody's opponent, be on the B side. I don't mind doing that. I don't mind going into other people's hometown and fighting out, gutting out the decision. But, when I decided that I wanted to come back and these people contacted me, it just seemed like the perfect match. And it's something new, something that, I don't have to worry about, fighting the guy in front of me and fighting the judges. We just going out here to, to fight and lace them up. And it's all love at the end of the day. So it's just something, like I said, I can't worry about getting cut or breaking my hands because it's just something I've never really worried about.
Right. I feel it, Tim. I feel it. Well, you got the heart, man. I'm going to tell you, I watched you for a long time, and I always admired you, man. Like, you're one of them fighters that, people think that, this is going to be, he's a gatekeeper. But I always looked at you as, this is a dangerous fighter, bro. Like, you go into this, like, I forgot who it was you fought. I think it was Julian. Everybody was like, man, Julian where I'm from, it's like, Julian should beat this guy. I said, man, I don't know, man. I said, y'all don't know. That dude, EJ can fight, bro. Y'all sleeping. That dude can fight, bro. Like, for real, you got some sparring footage up. You got a lot of footage up, man, where you are just a really cagey, just a really just gutter fighter. And you can tell that you got that heart and that will and that desire to win. Like, I've never seen you go into a fight just to get a check. I've never seen that. Never. And I bet there's no time in your career.
Style, man. Right. That's not my style. And even this fight, this ain't something I'm doing for a check. I've made way more money in some of my biggest fights, fighting on pay-per-view, fighting for the world title, this to me really is just like I said. I could have decided, let me come back to boxing. But then I know what type of, I just turned 41 this year. I still feel like I got a little fight left. And if I don't feel like that, then I want to see, how much I got left. I want to test myself, take my body through a rigorous training camp and see where I'm at mentally and physically. But really, to be honest, I wasn't ready to do all that and come back and beat somebody's opponent. I'm not ready to fight the man in front of me and fight the judges too. And like I said, unfortunately, that for a lot of fights in my career, I've experienced that if the fight was close, then or the guy barely beat me, some of the cards were just way off the mark. Like, so if you even look at the Julian Williams fight, you had fans that thought I won. You had a couple fans that thought he may have won by 1 or 2 rounds. You had fans that thought I may have won by 1 or 2 rounds. Then you have fans that thought it was a draw. But then I think one of the judges in that fight scored that fight like 8 rounds to 1 or like 9 rounds to 1.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy,
mentally, mentally, I wasn't ready to step back into the boxing ring and deal with that. I wasn't. I wanted to, so this just created the perfect opportunity for me to go out and, do something new, something fresh. It's bare knuckle, but I ain't got to worry about nobody kicking me in the head or putting me in the chokehold or something like that. So it just seemed like the perfect opportunity.
Do you know?
Yeah, I think you're gonna be more dangerous, bro.
Hey, I agree. Do you know who you fighting?
Yeah, I'm fighting a guy that is, did a little boxing. I can't recall his name. He did a little boxing, and he did mostly MMA. But I tell people, like, there's no greater pure fighter than a boxer. Take away the legs, take away the kicks, take away the chokehold, and a boxer's going to beat any fighter, 9 times out of 10, because we just know how to punch so well. We know exactly how to hurt people, where to place our punches. That's why when you turn pro, your hands are registered. You can't be out in the streets fighting like that, because we are precise with how we punch and way we place our shot. So I'm excited for it. Like I said, yeah, it's a little different because of the bare knuckle thing, but I'm definitely excited for it. Definitely excited to see what's next afterward. And these people have been probably the best people in a long time I've worked with, man. They've been, top notch. Valor has been top notch from start to finish, and it's just been real easy to work with them, real easy to get things done, and it's been great so far.
I could tell you this right here, champ. If he did a little boxing, he in trouble. You about to knock his head off.
I was thinking that same. He in trouble. He is in trouble.
A little boxing. Oh my goodness. You can't do a little boxing against a world champion.
That ain't enough.
No, it ain't enough. And I'm quite sure it hurts a lot harder when you hit somebody with your bare knuckles. I mean, I'm talking about, man, I hate to say it that I was a street fighter. And when I hit guys with my bare knuckles, man, it was like, it was over quick. So when you hit this guy, man, and he ain't never been in there with a real fighter before, I'm talking about a world champion without the gloves, oh man, he ain't gonna even see it coming. You just gotta have in a contract, man, like Mayweather had against Conor McGregor, that he can't kick you. If he kick you, that's gonna cost him a certain amount of money.
Right. Well, it shouldn't be no kicking and no grabbing and no choking and stuff, So I'm like I said, I'm good about that. If this was MMA, I would probably be a little bit more worried. It's just so much that those guys know how to do. They're strategically, they know different styles of fighting, jiu-jitsu, boxing, karate, all kind of stuff. So I'm just glad I don't have to deal with that. I just have to go in here and fight, do what I've been doing for 19 years just with no gloves.
Let me ask you one more question. Rankin and James, for y'all, Debo again. How do you feel about the fights with Jared Hurd and J Rock and Tony Harrison, Charlo? What do you think is going to happen in those fights? And give me any predictions on what you feel about the fight period.
I think Julian Williams got Hurd's number, man. I just think the way he fought him and the way, his trainer and them two executed that game plan, it was perfect. It was nobody picked him to win that fight, and for him to go in and look the way he did and beat Godzilla the way he did, man, that was impressive. And I just don't know what how different Hurd can be. What can he do different to beat Julian? So if a focused Julian comes the way he was the first time, I just think he has his number. The Charlo fight was a little bit more. Charlo and Harrison was just a little bit more closer. I had Harrison edging it out. I thought the Charlo was loading up way too much, and I thought Harrison boxed beautifully and I outpointed him with the jab, but it was a little closer. I could see maybe Charlo making some adjustments. So right now I say that's kind of a pick 'em. I could see Charlo coming back and getting his title, but I could also see Harrison stepping his game up and keeping his title, I think it's going to be a little bit harder for Harrison to win this time around. Because I think Charlo's definitely going to be motivated. But I would say it's 50-50. That fight could go either way. But I just think Julian Williams has, he chopped Hurd down, man. I think he has Hurd's number.
All right, thanks for the predictions.
Well, speaking of predictions, K9, you're getting back in the ring with the Lil Wayne festival down there in New Orleans. Ishe is getting back into bare knuckles. Hey, what about a rematch?
I don't know, man. I think both of us after we want the big money. We want to see where we at. We the older guys. We the OGs of the division. I think if we go, he go left, I go right, and he does his thing, I do my thing, and maybe we can meet in the middle. But I think at this point, us fighting each other really don't do anything because we both trying to see where we at in the game and see where we can go and see if we can perhaps score some big fights and maybe wind up in hopefully another title fight, one of us. And like I said, and if he go left, I go right, then maybe we meet somewhere in the middle if we both do our thing. But definitely if it's a lot of good guys out there still. And K9 already became, I think, you're a two-time champion, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So I
Thank you.
I think he already did it once, so I don't think nobody can ever discredit him, a two-time champion. I don't think if he feels he got something left and he go and do his thing, I definitely won't say it's not impossible for him being a three-time champion. But I think two older guys like ourselves fighting each other at this stage of our career don't do anything. He needs to figure out his path and get to that crown again. And I kind of need to do the same thing. And if we meet somewhere in the middle, if I become a champ or he become a champ, I think he will want a big fight. Maybe a Canelo or one of these big guys that's really gonna get him paid, man. That's what it's about at the end of the day.
Hey, Smith, way to tell him, man, because he's trying to play the matchmaker role, man. Way to tell him. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Right.
I'm definitely understand what like I said, between K9 and Layman, you guys kind of taught me about the finances.
Right. Hey,
look,
look.
you also fought Danny Jacobs when he was only 17-0. What have you noticed from Danny since you fought him? I mean, that was almost almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, that is
almost. I thought that almost 10 years ago to the day.
Right. I think he's improved a lot. He was such a young fighter then, but he has so much hype around him. So everybody thought, and I moved up in weight. I was fighting 154 and agreed to take that fight at 160. Knew I was going to be on the B side, and it was a close fight. I even hurt him at a point in that fight and almost dropped him. But, he was just a little bit busier than me. He had a better game plan than me. That was like a 2-point fight. It was like 6-4, 7-3 maybe, but that was like a 2-round fight. And again, like I said, I haven't been the luckiest on that side. And one of them judges in that fight scored that fight 100-89. Like, he gave Danny Jacobs every single round. Didn't even give me the round I hurt him in. And that's what I mean by I didn't want to have to come back to boxing and deal with that. I don't remember. I don't forget those kind of things. I don't forget, those kind of things. And that's just something that I remember. And I just wasn't ready to deal with that. But I think he's improved, definitely improved a lot since then. I think he did well against Canelo. I just don't think, he was just busy enough in those fights, those two fights with Triple G and Canelo. I think if he was a little bit more busier, he could have edged those out. But I think he's done fantastic for himself, and he made a lot of money in that Canelo fight. So he's done very well for himself since we fought when he was 17-0.
What about Landy Laura? You fought, I think, when you fought Landy, he was like 19-2 or something like that.
He's just at that time he was arguably the best junior middleweight in the world. I mean, you had you had Canelo, you had other guys, but a lot of people, I don't feel he beat Canelo, but a lot of people feel he beat Canelo. And at the time I fought him, like I said, he was arguably probably the best junior middleweight in the world. It was just him and Canelo. Was no Hurd, wasn't no really Julian, I think, was a young pro. The Charlos were very young still. So at that time I would think, Lara was probably the best. And then you saw how, him and Hurd's fight was it was a fight of the year candidate. I was at that fight. That was a great fight. So he was just better at what he did that night than me. That's probably the one fight where I didn't have no complaints or no qualms about the decision. He was great at that night. He put on a great performance. He was able to utilize the ring and able to do things that I pretty much couldn't capitalize on. And he was just, he was better that night than I was. But he's a great fighter, and he's still going today. And I think he has a fight coming up soon. So, I'll take my hat off to him.
Yeah, he's still running too.
So in saying that, Ishe, with all these great fighters you fought that became world champions, the guy you finna fight in trouble.
Yeah, I don't do this for money, and I don't go lay down for nobody. I mean, if you beat me, you're gonna beat me. If you beat me and it's controversial, that's another thing. But I ain't laying down for nobody. I don't care if I was going to do UFC or if I was in a street fight. If I go out, I'm gonna go out swinging, and So he in trouble. I mean, whenever I step, it don't matter what kind of ring I step in. I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna make sure I'm ready. I have a good team in place. Eddie Mustafa will be back in my corner again, and we're excited for the opportunity, and definitely want to see what's next after this. But I don't take nobody lightly when I get ready to fight.
So is this fight going to be on pay? Is it going to be on pay-per-view? Is it going to be televised, streamed?
Yeah, I think it's on Fight TV. I know it's on DirecTV pay-per-view, and it's on Dish TV pay-per-view, and I think a couple more. And it's I think it's $30 for the whole show. It's a heavyweight tournament, I think, going on the same night where they got like 4 guys, and if you win it, you got to fight twice. So it's a heavyweight tournament going on the same night with 4 guys. I think they are the main event, and I think I'm the co-main. So like I said, it's exciting. This is this company's first bare knuckle event. So I'm really excited to be a part of it. Like I said, Valor's been really great to work with, easy to work with. Sometimes, probably K9 from being in boxing, sometimes it's hard to work with people. People tell you things and it's not true. And, you find out backdoor deals and stuff like that. But these people have been, straightforward from the beginning, and they've been real easy to work with. And it's been a pleasure, man. I wouldn't mind doing another one, but we got to see where we're at after this training camp and after this fight.
Okay. Sounds good, champ. Hey, Rankin, you there, Rankin?
So who's in your corner, champ?
That's a good question.
Eddie Mustafa Muhammad.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Oh, so you taking the champion in your corner with you. So you taking this fight real serious. The champion, the champ.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. Got to take it serious, man. You can't play boxing. So can't play fighting, can't play boxing. People think it's not really a lot of difference. It's just you just don't have the gloves. It's the same thing. No kicking. It's just so I got to take it serious. I can't take him light. I know he's probably excited. He's fighting a former world champion, so his adrenaline alone may put him on 100, until he start getting punched in the face. So I just got to be ready for anything. So we're taking the fight very serious.
Let me ask you this: in preparation, are you actually sparring with smaller gloves to kind of get ready for the bare knuckles?
No, I mean I don't want to hurt my hands, and we're doing other stuff with, no wraps and no stuff like that. But sparring and guys with smaller gloves and stuff like that, I don't want to hurt nobody in the gym. People know that, that's mainly where a lot of the injuries come from. It's just in the gym, doing too much. So I want to make sure that I'm ready fight night and make sure that, we're comfortable with our preparation and that everything is good to go. So we'll be ready come fight night. So I'm excited about it. It's definitely a new chapter.
Right. Yeah, well, the guy gonna be awkward. He an MMA fighter, so he's gonna be awkward. So I'm quite sure you got the right sparring partners.
Right. Yeah,
they would. Ishe, thank you so much, man, for coming on, taking the time with us tonight, and we all wish you luck, and hope I know I'll be watching it.
Definitely, I will too.
Yeah. So and
thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me, man. I appreciate it. K9, good luck with your comeback, man. I'm wishing you well, brother. Go out there and do your thing, man.
Oh yeah. Appreciate
you well, man.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Listen, I'm gonna follow you. It's all love. I'm gonna follow you on the gram, man, and on the Twitter. Go ahead and follow back. I got you.
All right, I will, brother. All right, man. Y'all take it easy. Thanks for everything, man.
Yeah. Give them your any final thoughts you want, and your social media.
Ishe Sugar Shay is on my social media, and thanks. Like I said, I want to thank Valor and Ken Shamrock and everybody involved with the company for this wonderful opportunity. First class organization to deal with. I'm excited, and you guys tune in. Got the heavyweight tournament going on, then got my fight going on. It's a great kickoff event. I can't wait, man. Thank you guys for having me on. K9, I'm gonna follow. Make sure you follow back, brother.
I got you, brother. All right. Much love, brother. Cheers.
All right, man. Good luck, K9. Much love.
All right, much love. All right.
Quinton, you've had a chance. I'm sorry I didn't give you a chance to talk with Lou, but why don't you give us your final thoughts for the evening and tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
I feel like it's gonna be a good thing, man. You got me thinking maybe I should try bare knuckles, but you can follow me on at Q the Chosen One on Instagram, or Q Fit Boxing. Q Fit Boxing on Instagram. I got 2 pages, man. So Q the Chosen One is my boxing page. Q Fit Boxing is my fitness page.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on. We're going to get some more of your stablemates on, and thank your cousin, Mr. Brown, for making sure that we had access to you. Thank you so much, man.
All right. Good night, Team
thanks
Certified.
For having me, man. And all right. Oh, yeah, man. Team Certified, man. And Team 1913, man. Thank y'all for having me, man. I appreciate it. I hope y'all have me back.
Hey, man, you weren't born on 1913.
All right.
All right, Rankin.
Huh?
I said you were born on 1913.
No. That's one of the teams that I deal with.
I'm messing with you.
That's my cousin's team.
I got you. I'm messing with you. It's all love, man.
Okay.
All right. Look forward to having you back on the show,
man.
bro.
Appreciate it,
all right. Cheers.
Oh yeah, no doubt, man.
Yep.
Oh man.
Hey.
Well, K9, we're not going to quite. Well, let's see. If you don't be too long-winded, we can get a little K9's Corner in here in your final thoughts.
Oh, yes. At K9's Corner, K9 Boxing, the Dawg Pound, and Puge's Corner, I would like to talk about just love, how it's just to be nothing but love. Just think, me and Ishe Smith, we fought, and after the fight, we fought. After the fight, we cool. Ain't nothing wrong with being cool. Don't be holding grudges in this boxing game, man. Everybody, all we trying to do is just feed our family. It's nothing but love. It shouldn't. What goes on in the gym stays in the gym. What goes in the fight stays in the fight. It should be nothing but love, man, because all we got is each other. At the end of our careers, man, hey, you gonna respect that guy. I would rather go to war with someone that I fought with than someone that's on the street watching boxing, because you got to remember, at the end of the day, a lot of the fans, man, they not there anymore when you're not in the ring cheering you on. So I just want to say, man, it's nothing but love. It should be more love than boxing with the fighters. You know, all up talking about, what you gonna do to somebody after you do it to somebody. You know, that's all. Love. I think it should be more love than boxing, man. It's like it was today. A lot of the young guys that's up and coming. They'll say some disrespectful stuff to a fighter, and after the fight, they might want to shake his hand. Hey, look, a guy's gonna say what he gonna say. You know what I mean? To get ready for the fight, and he don't supposed to like you when y'all about to fight. But after y'all finish fighting, it's over with. It shouldn't be no beef because you guys don't really know each other like that. It's just a fight. What, I'm supposed to be nice to you because you want to fight me? You want to take some off my table? I'm trying to feed my kids. I'm gonna have disrespect or dislike for you. But after the fight is over with, you feed your family, I feed my family, may the best man win. But afterwards, it's nothing but love, man. So that's all I want to say, K9's Corner, nothing but love. And you can follow me at K9 Boxing on Instagram, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And number love, James. Where can they find you at? When you ain't sleep, when you ain't too busy, and when you ain't cooking up a great show like tonight. I like to say that shout out to all our guests tonight too, man. Dibella, Ishe Smith, and Rankin. Man, great show, man.
Hey, man, I try to make sure that we have relevant people as well as people that are up and coming. Hey, man, I got a champion co-host. There's no reason why we can't have champions on our show. Hey, like you say, it's a very small fraternity, this boxing fraternity, and we should all help and support each other. And most of all, man, I really love what the young man was saying about the protection of the fighter and why we can't really do something relevant. Because I know in some cases you don't even present with symptoms until 2 or 3 weeks after. Sometimes,
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, because, basically, combat is combat. It takes a certain toll out of you. It takes a certain toll out of your body. It takes a certain psychological toll. And a lot of times, once you're removed from that situation, then you realize what's happening. Like you say, you're operating on adrenaline. You're operating under, that survival mode. And, sometimes it takes a person more than just 7 days to present with symptoms, especially when it comes to things pertaining to the head.
Hey, so look.
Injuries.
Hey, so look. No. I hear you, James. So look. So why not someone come up with a movie? Because if you notice, the movie Rocky, it just glorified of a guy getting beat up and then coming back to win the fight. So that's what people want to see now. A guy get beat up and a guy beat a guy up. Well, we need someone to make a movie, concussion, like they did for the NFL. Because there's a lot of concussions and deaths goes on in boxing. There's never been a movie that just strictly talked about concussions and people dying in a ring. So maybe with something like that, people will take a look at that, and then they'll probably monitor the fighters in the gym before they even get to the actual fight. Because a lot of these guys are taking punches to the head in the gym, so they go out there and they die right in the ring. It ain't because a lot of times it ain't because of them having the fights in an actual fight. It's before they get to the fight they already beat up.
Yeah, that's why. I don't know. I'm pretty sure we talked about it on this show too. I know we talked about it on the Sunday show about also monitoring how much a guy does in the gym.
Absolutely.
But once again, but it's also like is a guy gonna be truthful? How do you monitor it? Is he sneaking across over to Tijuana to take fights? Under a different name, we need, facial recognition. Hey, there's a lot of things we can do, but fighters have to unify. I don't know whether it's going to be a union or some type of organization, but you're going to have to get like the major sports in order for you to get the proper health protection. At least that's my thought. So,
hey, you know what though? You know what? No, yeah, you know what, James? I'm glad you just said that. Made me think. With boxing, it's a team sport. Boxing is 1-on-1, and that's probably the reason why it's so hard for us to get all this kind of help that we need, because it's 1-on-1. It's everybody for themselves. We need a union. We need to be more team involved.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe maybe it's something that this younger generation can work on. Because pretty soon there's going to be a turnaround, man. I mean, look, Bob Aaron's not getting any younger. Don King's not getting any younger. Lou Dibella's not getting any younger. I mean, so some of these guys, we've lost some of our older generation guys. So as these younger guys step up, maybe they'll also take that up also, especially when we're seeing so much happen here lately. So this is something we should all look forward to. But hey, man, been a great Tuesday night. Like you said, I had some great guests. Look forward to talking with you next week, man. And I know it's you're gonna be starting. Have you started training camp, or are you still in back camp?
Man, listen, I'm always in training camp until I retire. It's going down.
All right, dog.
All right, man. Good night.
Man.
All right, James.